Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Again, we're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're the nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of doing great things for folks living in San Diego County, whether it's food insecurity, it's the arts, financial literacy. They work very closely with Alzheimer's and the homeless. Just a great community partner. So honored to have in the studio with us today our friends from the California Wolf Center, Jacob Keeton, Director of Education and Engagement, Ciera MacIsaac, Wolf Care Coordinator, and Matt Anderson, Resource Development for the Wolf Center. Welcome one and welcome all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, we'll start with you on this, Jacob, and then Ciera, you and Matt, feel free to jump right in. What's the mission of the Wolf Center?
Our mission is to create an environment where humans and wolves can thrive.
So I'm going to ask each one of you, have you always been interested in doing something with wolves? I'll start with you on that, Ciera.
Absolutely. I was definitely one of those weird little kids that knew exactly what they wanted to do at a very young age, and all the parents go, "Oh, okay, sweetie," and then you move on. But yeah, I always wanted to work in wolves, wanted to work in conservation, and I just always found them as a really misunderstood, very cool animal, and so dedicated my career towards that.
When's the first time you saw a wolf?
The first wolf I ever saw was actually at the California Wolf Center. I am born and raised San Diego, and so I visited the California Wolf Center when I was in high school and was like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
And then
love the work they're doing.
And you locked in. How about you, Jacob?
I did not. I'm still trying to figure out, I think, what I want to do with my life
Right.
when I grow up. But no, I have not always worked with wildlife. I've been in San Diego since 2011, and I've worked at a lot of different museums around San Diego. And when the opportunity came up to join the team at the California Wolf Center, it was one of those moments that it just felt like a really, really good fit. Before I started there, I didn't realize, and I think a lot of people don't realize, that there is a conflict between, wolves in the wild and the people that most intimately share the landscape with them. And it seemed like a place where I could bring some of my skills and to really find a way to support the mission. And so whenever I started back in 2023, it was an opportunity that I think changed my life. And now I'm lucky enough to get to take that message to others to hopefully change others' lives as well.
Now we're going to look forward to talking about how wolves and the ecosystem and humans get together. Matt, many wolves in England?
Not very many natively, no. But
Okay.
That was the first time I met a wolf, was
Okay.
an institution there.
Yeah.
My involvement is driven by my passion for conservation and an understanding of the necessity for biodiversity and the habitats that we live amongst. So that coexistence is what drives my role, and obviously drumming up fiscal support for all the work we're doing there too.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. We can't have enough folks on talking about our very unique habitats in our region, whether it's flora, fauna, and everything in between. But this is the first time we've had wolves on, so that's great. One of our frequent guests is a good friend of mine, is Gary Weitzman. He is the executive director and president of the Humane Society, and they have their wildlife center up in Ramona, as you folks know. Where's the Wolf Center housed?
So we are located in Julian.
Okay.
So not super far away,
I
up
was
in the
gonna
nice
say.
mountains. We definitely get some nice weather for the wolves. Everyone's like, oh, wolves in San Diego? I'm like, oh, well, they do get snow.
Right,
We're
right,
up in the
right.
mountains.
So, Jacob, I'll start with you, and again, I want Matt and Ciera to add to this. Talk about, the ecosystem and with humans and wolves and all this business. Are wolves misunderstood by us? And if they are, why?
Yeah, that's a really broad question. It's got a lot of, you know, I always say that a history of wolf conservation is a history of human tolerance. I think there is something unique about wolves that they hold a special place in our psyche. There are other apex predators, but no one thinks that when there's a full moon, they're going to turn into a mountain lion, right? There's no, there are no myths that a hyena is going to eat your grandmother and dress up in her clothes. And so it's one of those, the wolves do hold a special place in, I think, human ideology. Even the Dalai Lama himself, who's supposed to, revere all life, basically said that, revere all life except for wolves and hyenas. So throughout all of history, they've had this place. And whenever, people came over, Europeans came over to the United States, before it was the United States, I would say in 1491, our lower 48 would have looked a lot different. There would have been an estimated 300,000 wolves roaming the lower 48. By the time the Endangered Species Act passed, that number's dropped to just 300 in one isolated area. And that's due to, losing land due to human encroachment, changing of the ecosystems. And so as we have, viewed wolves in the past as these real symbols of wildness and untamed things, our goal, hopefully, is to help change the way people think about wolves and to not see them as just the, vermin almost that are out there, but hopefully see them as symbols of how we can do conservation better in the future with how their recovery is going.
So, would you, Ciera, would you see a wolf walking around in our wilderness? Not really. They're not, or are they?
So that's the cool part. California is actually one of the states that has native wild wolves.
Wow.
So we get all the time asked, are these the only wolves found in California at our facility? And it's like, no, we actually have roughly around 50 wild wolves roaming Northern California. So the furthest...
Not in Southern California?
Not in Southern California, with the caveat of the Yosemite Pack. They are in Tulare County. So not super close, but one of the wolves that was roaming around with the Yosemite, she came actually from Northern California. She went down into LA County a couple months ago. So she was the first wolf to step foot in LA County in almost 100 years. It was a really big deal. She was looking for a mate. It was breeding season. She was the first wolf in LA County, so she didn't find a friend down here. She did go back up, and now she's in the Sequoia National Forest. So she has been making a really long journey looking for a friend, but she has not found one just yet.
Right, so here you are, you're on the 405 freeway, and the next thing you know, at your off ramp, there's a wolf, at the 7-Eleven or something like that. I mean, did anyone call you guys when the wolf was in LA?
So she was radio collared, and so the California Department of Fish and Wildlife are very good about tracking all of their radio collared wolves. They knew what she was doing. I don't believe she was ever seen visually by a person when she was in LA County. It was through trail cameras and things of that nature. But what's really awesome about wolves is they're more afraid of us than anything else.
Yeah, imagine.
They are so skittish. They don't have that bravado like coyotes do, where they kind of get used to being around people. Wolves are just, they're what is known as neophobic. So it means they're afraid of new things. And us as humans, we bring new, weird, scary things all the time.
Right. And what is their range? We talk about, I live in near Rancho Penasquitos, Los Penasquitos Canyon, where we have mountain lions. What is there, 100-mile range?
Mountain lions have a very large range. Wolves, it depends on the wolf. So there are some wolves who, as soon as they disperse from their parent pack, they'll maybe have a few 100-acre territory.
Right.
And then there's some wolves that, the wolf who actually helped found California wolves, his name was OR7. He came from Northeast Oregon and traveled all the way down into California. So they have, sometimes they're just going to wander really, really far, and then they have a nice big territory. Territory is always just determined by food availability. So you can have a really small territory if you don't have many wolves in your pack and you have a lot of food abundance, or you're going to have a really large territory because you're looking for food.
Now, when did you guys know that the wolf was in L.A., and was there a chance you could have got the wolf and brought him to the Wolf Center, or that's not part of the gig? Go ahead, Jake.
So California you can go online and you can see a general location of where collared wolves are. It's not in real time because they don't actually want people to go out and get it. So if that wolf would have been approached by a person, that's probably the worst thing that could have happened to it.
Would the wolf have attacked?
No. It would have just run.
Got it.
Yeah, and so that's our goal is to get more wolves in the wild, and not necessarily bring more wolves into our center. That's what makes us, I guess, different as a conservation facility versus a rehab or a zoo. Our mission is really focused on how can we help wolves in the wild, not necessarily how can we bring wolves to our facility. Right. So we wanted to just try to support the wolf in the wild, not just that one, but all of them, by passing on information about it, how people can coexist with those wolves.
Right. We're chatting with our friends from the California Wolf Center, Jacob Keeton, Director of Education and Engagement, Ciera MacIsaac, Wolf Care Coordinator, and Matt Anderson, Resource Development of the California Wolf Center. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. So, Matt, your job is to raise funds.
Exactly.
Okay. And so when you say I'm raising funds for wolves, they go, obviously Matt has escaped from some institution.
I was trying to hide it from you.
Exactly. So talk about the challenges you have and all that aspect.
Well,
I love the fact
I think that we're at a exciting crossroads right now in terms of the Wolf Center.
Okay.
And supporting a new initiative.
Yeah.
Which we're calling Guardians of the Wild.
Right.
It's kind of a way of our way of expanding the California Wolf Center's legacy. So we've procured a new site, also in Julian.
Nice.
And we're putting together plans for a world-class conservation and education campus. So we're going to have Jacob's obviously very delighted about having a new education center there, but naturalistic enclosures, initially for wolves, but other apex predators into the future as well. So that's basically shameless plug on our website at the moment if anybody wants to check that out. Support at different levels. Obviously, we're putting together, the less sexy stuff at the moment, permitting and so on and so forth, in order to start that build. But in the fullness of time, we'll have Tall Pines, our existing venue for the Mexican grey wolf program, as part of SAFE, which is Saving Animals from Extinction, an AZA initiative, which we're actively involved with, and then continuing that for wolves at the new centre as well. Expanding opportunities for the local community, students, research, visitors, all of the above. So we're very excited about that.
We come back from break. I want to talk a little about, is there a breeding component in this as well? If we're down to 300 or whatever the number is in this aspect, of it, since I've been involved in education probably for 4 billion years, I can't wait to hear about some of the programs for the students and that's great that you're expanding this in Julian as well. And do you work with any of the other groups? Do you work with the Humane Society's Ramona Wildlife Center and other aspects in that when we return with the California Wolf Center after this very short break?
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, The unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. So thrilled to have learning experience for me. I'll tell you right now, and our listeners at the California Wolf Center. We got Jacob Keeton, Director of Education and Engagement, Ciera MacIsaac, Wolf Care Coordinator, and Matt Anderson, Resource Development for the Wolf Center. And so just talking about, Jacob, what Matt was saying, we're going to build, expand the facility in Julian. Education certainly is in all of your wheelhouses, of course, with the Wolf Center there. But is breeding a component of it or not?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to turn this one over to Ciera. She's
Please.
got a lot of experience kind of spearheading those efforts on our facility. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
So we are a breeding facility, which is very different than some other places that might just be a rescue. They are taking in injured animals that can't go back out to the wild, or someone owned a pet that they were not supposed to have. And
Right.
so what makes our place unique is we actually do breed to release out to the wild.
Right.
So we have currently 2 subspecies of gray wolf. We have the northwestern gray wolf, so that's the gray wolf in California, and out throughout the Pacific Northwest. But we also have the critically endangered Mexican gray wolf. So with the Mexican gray wolves, they were extinct out in the wild for a good chunk of time.
Wow.
They were only in captive facilities to bring them back from the brink of extinction. And out of those animals, only 7 were genetically distinct. That's it. So we're starting with 7 individuals in the 70s. And luckily today, we're bringing them back from the brink of extinction,
Wow.
which is really
That's huge.
cool
Yeah.
to be a part of. There is now a little less than 700 total, so still a very small number, but they are now out in the wild. There's about 320 in the United States. It's in Arizona and New Mexico, so not in Southern California, but our close relatives, our close neighbors, and they are actively being reintroduced every single year. And it is all about genetics. So who gets to breed, who gets to go out in the wild, it's based on those genetic component, because from 7 individuals, as you can imagine, the gene pool is more of a puddle. So everything is very, very specific. We work with an amazing team of people. So as Matt said, it's AZA Safe, Mexican Wolf. They have the safe coordinators from that program. We also work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service because they are federally owned and federally protected. We're also working with Mexico state agencies because it is a binational effort. So it's really wonderful to see this animal go from, well, we don't know, it might go extinct, to it's doing really well. And we are actively reintroducing Mexico in the state of Durango. Just recently introduced a full new pack to an area that hadn't seen wolves in almost 100 years.
So where do they have to live, and what are these environments? You mentioned, this one came from Tulare County that made its way to L.A. I think you were saying that, and of course they're in Arizona. Do they have to be in high elevations? Do they have to be near, what type of food?
Yeah, absolutely. So with wolves, they are really adaptable when it comes to temperature, environmental temperatures. Wolves are found almost throughout all of the northern hemisphere. So they can do really, really well in cold, in the -degree temperatures. That's where you can get into the Arctic wolves. So they are just a subspecies of gray wolf, but they're a really cool animal. The northwestern, which are found throughout the Pacific Northwest, they can obviously get into the warmer temperatures, like here in California, but they can survive -degree temperatures. Mexican wolves are probably the best adapted to warmer temperatures because their native territory is Arizona, New Mexico, western Texas, and Mexico down to Mexico City. So they have really amazing adaptations to both warm weather and cold weather. They are more high desert, high mountain. So specifically with Mexican wolves, they're going after elk, they're going after deer. with the Northwesterns, the timber wolves, the Arctic wolves, the more northern grays. They could go after moose, which would be incredible to see. But usually elk, deer, things of that nature.
Do they roam in packs?
Typically, yes. So wolves we like to say they're very similar to us. They have mom and dad. They are the leaders of the pack. Some people call them the alphas. We do try to stay away from that term because they didn't fight to lead the pack. They just met off one day in the forest and started a family. But then the rest of the pack is typically children. So they have not reached maturity yet, so they stick with mom and dad. They help hunt, and then once they reach maturity at around 2 years old, they're going to leave and go find their own friend and start their own family.
Right. So, Jacob, I imagine you're not bringing the wolf to a school. I imagine the school is coming to the Wolf Center, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Most of our really impactful programs do occur on site because that's whenever people really get to be right up in front of a wolf, and you kind of see that aha moment, and you get to. Whenever I was at the California Wolf Center, my first time doing an interview there, that was my first time seeing a wolf, and it was a really powerful thing for me. And that's what we try to provide. We do go out into the community and we bring different learning materials, but
Sure.
but seeing the wolves in person is a really powerful thing, and that's why we're really excited that at our new location it'll be much easier to get to, much easier to host people, and much easier to not only teach people about wolves and other apex predators, but to hopefully change the way that people see ecosystems and see wildlife and how it's all connected, and really allow us to achieve our mission and a more fundamentally effective way.
Are the age groups elementary, are they middle school, they're high school, all over the board?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's elementary is probably the main group though that we get, and I think everyone, I've been in, like I said, the museum field for longer than I'm going to say on in a microphone, but field trips for elementary school are by and large, I would say, the bulk of it, but we do things with middle school, with homeschool, with high school. We do internships with high schools, and so the way we serve the different age groups does change based on their ability level.
So I want to talk about the internships, which was near and dear to our heart on our show. We talk about this a lot with college and career pathways. This is the very first one. There's going to be a pathway to taking care of a wolf, but listen, it's all about the environment and ecosystem, and I think we can't do that enough with our students, with adults for that matter. What am I talking about? Understand once you lose it, it's not coming back, and and if you don't have that mindset, then then can you go to the space station mirror and never come back? As far as I'm concerned in this aspect of it. So if you do internships, are they working to work with the wolves you have at the center and do any? Are there veteran services, veterinary services with wolves?
Yeah, so we offer a couple different types of internships.
Mm-hmm.
So we, like Jacob said, we can have the student internships. So you do have to be over the age of 18 to go into a habitat with a wolf. However, our under 18 can still help out with all of our education programs. Mm-hmm. They have helped out with outreach, so going to different events in schools and things of that nature. Also simply helping with groundskeeping, so making sure our property is fire safe, it's effective for the needs of the facility. But once they turn 18, they can help not only with all of those aspects, giving tours, things of that nature, but actually going in and taking care of the animals. So feeding, cleaning, any kind of veterinary care. We always try to have our interns definitely sit on, which is really, really cool. We do a lot of, obviously, annual exams of all of our animals, making sure everyone's getting vaccinated, everyone's happy and healthy. But obviously, if any emergencies happen, they can participate in that. I don't know if we could say it on a podcast, but we do semen collection.
Of course you can say anything you want. It's part of life.
Which is really incredible, and that's for the Mexican gray wolves because they are still critically endangered. We could potentially, in the future, do artificial insemination. And so they get to help out with all of that. We have currently some interns who are pre-vet, so they're interested in more of that hands-on stuff, but we've had interns who or anthropology. We also participate in the Skill Bridge program for the military. And so people who are looking to get out of the military but looking for some hands-on experience, we're one of the unique ones. So we do get a lot of applicants for that, which is incredible. People who are interested in getting into the wildlife field after working in the military.
Who do you work with in the military?
We've worked with every branch so far. So right now our Skill Bridge intern is a Marine.
Okay.
But
we do a military podcast, so we work
fantastic.
with all the military. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had people from one of our interns or Skill Bridgers came from Japan when he came to our internship.
Right. So Matt, how do we support the Guardians of the Wild campaign?
Our capital campaign is live and it's on our website currently.
Okay.
So if you want to go there or any interested parties, that would be wonderful to hear from you. You can book an appointment with me. You can give me a call. I can come visit, any of the above. We have put together, one of the things we're most excited about is the Founders Circle opportunity. So that's a key 30 or 40 member small committee to start with.
Nice.
as part of the early leadership. And I think of note, and to piggyback on some of your questions and what Ciera and Jacob have been saying, is that although the wolves aren't in Southern California yet, watch this space, right?
Right.
The other apex predators are, but the wolves you can come and experience soon at both campuses.
Right.
One of which is going to be focused on non-viewable Mexican greys, part of the conservation effort, and the other more of an experience to open to all communities, students, etc. Everything we've mentioned. Why is this of particular note in Southern California, especially San Diego County? We're a center for endemism. It's an incredible area of biodiversity. Why is that? Because of the apex predators. If they weren't predating on the smaller rodents and rabbits and so on, the other prey items, elk in Yellowstone, of course, then the plants that we enjoy on our hikes on the weekends simply wouldn't be in such levels of diverse. Kind of this thing we enjoy so much. And in fact, about 35% of all native plants in South America are in San Diego County. So it's an well, you all know this already, but that's what we're enjoying and looking forward to sharing more and more into the future on behalf of the wolves and the other apex predators as well.
Right. And how have the people of Julian been embracing this?
They're very excited about it.
They've got to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As soon as we purchased the new property, we had a lot of neighbors. They're like, "Oh, we're so excited for you guys. We're excited to see more." It's really cool.
Well, if you think about it, other than, and I'm assuming they have wolves at the zoo, correct? Or do they not?
They do have wolf dogs for educational purposes, but they don't actually have a habitat. So they're used more so for their ambassador program. They'll come out and...
Oh, is that right? Okay.
But they have maned wolves, which are really, really cool at the San Diego Zoo. But they are a relative of wolves. They're not actually wolves themselves.
Not the wolves themselves. Right, exactly. And I love the fact that the uniqueness of it is your job is to get them back out on the wild,
Absolutely.
and that's it. Would your goal eventually be down to 0 wolves because you've had now 14,000 of them out in the wild?
I think that's the ultimate goal for any conservation group is to not need to exist anymore.
Right.
We want the wolves to be doing so well out in the wild, they don't need to be in captivity anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic, and I know that I will never be able to see a wolf in the studio. We do have animals come in the studio, by the way, and so and we love it when we have animals in it. I think I just got to make a trip out there, if I'm invited, for God's sake, in this aspect. Let's go around the room for final comments. We'll start with you on that, Matt.
I just thank you very much for the opportunity today. We're very excited about our new campaign, Guardians of the Wild. I think I did mention that.
Yeah.
And we
Can't mention
also
it
got
enough.
other events coming up as well. So you're asking about, how does the local junior community feel about us?
Correct.
We're collaborating with everybody. We have a large kind of, we call it Wolves and Wine. That's going to be in October. There's a National Wolf Week. So we start that with that event and we end it with a wolf walk around Lake Cuyamaca. So that's just getting a little bit of background.
And that's on the
about
website?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, so you got, I love that area for 17,000 different reasons. Okay, go on the website, look at these events coming up. Ciera, any final comments?
No, just thank you for having us and talking to us, and hopefully we can spread the word that, there is no big bad scary wolf. They're a really amazing animal, and you guys can always come out and say hi to some wolves in person.
Now, listen, we're going to have a repeat performance of this as well, because what I'd like to do, Jacob, is maybe bring in some of the educators that have seen the Wolf Center and talk about their experiences and that. Any final comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks for hosting us.
Of course.
You're officially invited to come visit the California Wolf
I'll
Center.
be there.
And
I'm
so the official invite is going to be recorded now.
Yeah.
But as far as that, if people do want to come and visit the California Wolf Center, I always say that the summertime is a great time. It does get a little bit warm. I know everyone competes with the beach, but we run our kids-free program. So kids under 17 and under come for free to check out the wolves for July and August. So when you're out of school, it's a great thing. If you're planning a day up to Julian, you're going to get some pie. It's a great time to come and see the wolves. And I guess my final thoughts of coexistence is there are a lot of conservation organizations, and there are a lot of I guess you can call them the opposite of that really stand on their side and dig their feet in and say, we are right, this is the way to do it. And so in our world, it's you get some folks that are very much into wolf conservation, and they say the wolves deserve to run through the whole state unimpeded, and we need to get rid of the ranching communities and the farming communities to benefit the wolves. And then you get the folks on the other side that say, we have the ranching communities and the farming communities, and we need to get rid of all the wolves, right? And they're very entrenched camps. And one of the things that I'm most proud of for working with the California Wolf Center is that by its very definition, coexistence is neither one of those. It's how can we find compromise, find ways of common ground, find empathy and ability to listen to one another to find real pragmatic solutions. So I would say my final words are, if you're listening to somebody that disagrees with you, go in with a little empathy, try to hear out their point of view, and try to go in with a mind of compromise and coexistence.
Well, if we did that, then this whole world, not just with wolves, with everything in this aspect of it, we would have a lot of mental illness resolved. I'll tell you that right now, and there's no question about it. And I just love the fact that the biotech aspect of it, the ecosystem aspect of it, is just so critical. It's our region. Take care of this damn thing. Okay?
Absolutely.
No one else is going to do it if you don't do it. And the uniqueness of the wolf and what you guys do is just it separates you from everything else. So I've enjoyed the interview. I know our listeners have. We're going to have you make a return appearance, absolutely, to continue the conversation. I want to make sure that Matt makes his goal of Guardians of the Wild by the end of the week. And so
ideally.
Okay.
Amazing.
I'm sure you had on this
Wolves would
aspect
love
of it. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. Very proud of that. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.